Do you talk too much? I do. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes, and there were many that I made early in my career, was I thought the more you talked as a salesperson, the more you could convince someone to use you as their real estate agent, whether buying or selling. I didn't understand that selling isn't telling, to quote an old phrase I heard. Selling is listening. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about you keeping your mouth shut, you listening, but also phrases and things to avoid like the plague. Because when you say these certain things, buyers and sellers will go, ooh, something's wrong. They might not know exactly what it is, but by virtue of the fact you said it, causes them just to go, ooh, something's not right, and then they hesitate, you don't get the business, and you can't figure it out. So, listen up. And these really came from the mid-'80s. Mid-'80s sales were a lot different. The whole technique, the whole thought process was different than what it is today. The consumer is so much more educated today, and they have so much more knowledge than what they did in the mid-'80s. In fact, in the mid-'80s, the term we use is we were the keepers to the gates that held all the information behind them. So people had to come through us to get any information. That's not true anymore. Information's out there everywhere now. So now we're the conduit to take that information, decipher it, interpret it, and take it back to the client if it's a listing presentation on the value of the house or how we find buyers. So our job has changed dramatically. So the way you present yourself as a salesperson and things you say has to change. In fact, I'll tell you one of my favorite phrases that I was taught. I was taught to stand on the balcony with a buyer and say, gosh, you can almost smell and hear those steaks sizzling on the barbecue right now on a Sunday afternoon, can't you? I mean, just think about that. That is such a sales line. And even back then, I think buyers realized that was a sales line. It was cheesy and it didn't work, but that was that manipulation. So we're going to talk about a few more of those classically horrible lines. Here's a good one. When you're on a listing appointment, hey, I can sell the house much quicker than ABC Realty over there. Really? Based on what? Every agent says they can sell a house quick or quicker or quickly. In fact, I applied the 180-degree rule to these things. Does any agent ever say, I take a long time to sell a house? So when a consumer says to me, being a listing, the seller says to me, gee, ABC Realty said they can sell it quickly. I go, really? How many agents said they can't and would take a long time? And they go, well, none. I said, that's a redundant thing to say. I said, every agent would like to sell the house in a fairly quick amount of time, but we have no control over that. Is the buyer in the first stage you're looking or the last stage? How many buyers are there? We don't know. It's just a sales line that's thrown out there, so don't throw it out there. I keep saying here's one of my favorites, but here's another one. I'm honest and hardworking. Really, again, applied the 180-degree rule. How many agents have said, I'm not honest and I'm not hardworking? It's redundant. I think sellers and buyers expect us to be honest and hardworking. I don't think that's something you have to say. And by saying these things, you create the actual opposite thought process of what you hoped. If I kept trying to say, hey, I'm honest, really, trust me, I'm honest. No, you got to trust me, I'm honest. Let me prove how honest I am. People don't see that as honesty. People see that as you saying you're honest. So it's not what you say, it's what you do that would show that client that you're an honest person. If you have to say it, there's a big mistake there, or a big error, or something wrong on your part. Again, I keep saying this, but another favorite, I have buyers waiting. I have buyers ready to go. Do not say that. If I were a seller sitting in an appointment and an agent said I had buyers, or I have buyers ready to buy your house now, I'd go, great, bring them in, I'll pay you a commission. If you don't bring them in, I'm not paying. See, the truth is, every agent has buyers waiting. Every agent has buyers. That's what we do all day long. We collect buyers, we look for listings, we try and marry the two up. So to say you have buyers, again, if I'm in a listing appointment and the consumer says the other company said they have lots of buyers, I go, really, how many have said they have no buyers? No one, because that doesn't make any sense to say that. Every agency has buyers. How do they know they have the right buyer? How do they know they have the right buyer for your house if that buyer hasn't actually been inside your house? They don't. It's a sales line. Stop saying it. Another favorite. Oh my God, I love your house. I wish I could buy it. That's a horrible thing to say. because it sounds so disingenuous. It's not, don't say stuff like that. It's a sales line. The same as, when I was new in the business, I was taught, when you walk through the house, having a client show you the house for a listing, and you see a picture of golf, them golfing on the wall, bring it up, say something about golf. Well, the one time I did that, the first thing the client says, "Oh, Daryl, what's your handicap?" I don't play golf. Right? I couldn't even BS a handicap. I don't even know what it means. I know it means you're a good golfer. It's a low, I think. So again, 80 selling techniques, which are still being used today, by the way. If you're genuine and you see a picture on the wall and it happens to be, golfing, and you are an avid golfer and they somehow know that, or you know that about them, have a chit chat about golf as a general kind of conversation to lighten the mood. But don't be disingenuous. Don't comment on something you know nothing about for the sake of commenting on it, because that's what you've been taught in some sales class. Here's one you've got to be really careful of, and this is a double-edged sword, this one. Promoting yourself as selling a house in one day for full price. And you've seen that a lot. If I'm up against that in a listing appointment, I can easily sell against that by saying, hey, if they sold it in one day for full price, if they had marketed the property a little bit longer, maybe they would have had another buyer to pay over full price and taken 2 or 3 days to sell it and net you X amount of dollars more. So it's very easy to sell against that. So be very careful if you say, and you can prove you sold a house quickly and for full price or even over full price, especially if you're competing against agents that really know how to counter that. That's a tricky one, so I would probably steer away from that. If they've called you in for the appointment, there's a good chance they know you've sold a house or 2 or 3 in the area relatively quickly. That's probably why they've called you in the first place. And again, I'll digress here a little. The whole objective of any appointment is to have them discover things about you. Not for you to have to lay it all out on a table, but for you to do your presentation, and by lay it all out, I mean explain every single thing to them. But the objective is to have you do your presentation and you leave and they go, wow, man, that Daryl knows his stuff. Can you believe he knew boom, 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 and he had an answer for that, and man, let's list with him. He knows his stuff. That should come across. So you shouldn't have to say things. You shouldn't have to spell it out. They should discover that about you by the way you present yourself. Great movie directors don't spell everything out in the movie. They give the assumption that you're smart enough to figure it out. And they're the best sorts of movies as opposed to ones that spell everything out for you and don't challenge you. Just a thought. Also be careful of little slogans or little, I suppose, logos that are phrases that are attached to you. I mean, I've had my share, Kim and Daryl Rouse, everything we touch turns to sold. We have sold ability. There's a whole long list of horrible ones. Some were probably okay looking back on it. Most of them probably weren't. One of the worst ones I think I ever saw was a message, and when the agent answered, it was a lady, I won't mention her name, she said, "Hi, this is such and such. I'm out making real estate dreams come true." Maybe someone out there, they would go, "Oh, that's beautiful." Me, no, it doesn't work for me. It's too far out there. So if you run the risk of alienating 10% of the people, don't do it. Stay a little bit generic on that sort of stuff. So it's okay to use your name. One of the gals in our office, her name was Linda Blade. She was on the cutting edge. Well, it's okay. It's kind of cutesy, but you don't have to do that stuff. And if you do it in a way that's intelligent marketing, not kind of kitschy marketing, if that makes sense. And here's another fun one. Our office has 756 years of experience. That is horrendous. That's a 1983 sales technique, if ever I heard it. In other words, you're a little bit inexperienced, so you defer to your office experience. Don't do that. Figure out what it is with your inexperience you bring to the table, which is normally enthusiasm. The first listing I ever got from actually someone I knew, his name was Bill Rogers, thank you, Bill. First listing I ever got was because he knew I was brand new. I knew nothing, but man, I was enthusiastic. And that went a long way for trying to sell this particular property. So don't do those sorts of things because they've been done too much. Find out what it is about you if you're new that makes you attractive to a consumer and market that. So really what I'm saying also is, and this gets back to every other video I ever talk about, it's not about features, it's about benefits. It's not about telling, it's about asking questions. and you should ask intelligent questions. By the end of the listing presentation, I would say the client should have done 80% of the talking and you should have done 20%, which means you're asking all the questions and they're answering the questions and going into stories themselves. If it's the other way around, the chance of you getting that business is very slim because you're just talking too much and telling everyone how great you are. And remember, I had this problem, so I'm talking from first-hand experience. I still do it sometimes today. Sometimes I'll get off the phone and my wife, Kim, will say, hey, why didn't you ask this, and this question? And I'm like, and I'll get mad at her, but she's right. So think about this whole process in a way where you talk about specific benefits of the feature. So in other words, find out what's important to them by asking questions. If having spaciousness is important to them, don't just say, oh, the house has got a big backyard. Say, well, this house has quite a spacious outdoor area, which will allow you to have barbecues and maybe a jumpy castle. That's the benefits of the feature. That's how you have to start to think. So that's it in a nutshell. As Austin Powers once said, selling is not telling, selling is listening. Selling is really asking great questions and listening. Selling is absolutely not using sales techniques, which are catchy little lines that you think are important to the client, but in reality, the client could probably care less. That's it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, make a comment. Love to hear from you. That's it for this week. Go out, list, sell, and have fun.